Hello everyone and welcome to episode 3 of our Satisfactory survival series, where we've done quite a lot in the last couple of episodes. So if you've missed all of that, make sure to go check out the last episode. First, let me tell you about what I've been doing off camera. I went on a slight adventure to collect some wood and some leaves. I then turned all of those leaves and wood into biomass, where we had over 24,000 biomass, which is amazing. So I then decided to build this mini factory where I'm turning all my handcrafted biomass into biofuel, which is far more valuable to burn in our biomass burners. Because in our last episode, I created this elevated area up here, which should in theory be the perfect size for the hub. So let's test it out. I'm going to remove that thing right there, then hopefully plop it in here, and okay, it definitely is going to fit. That's fantastic. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to nudge it here a little bit close to this side, because I do want this to be relatively close here to the edge. So I think without further ado, without overcomplicating it, just plop that into there, right there. And should the colors already be painted? Yes. Great, and that looks absolutely beautiful there. Okay, so I've added a few bits and bobs around our hub. Firstly, I've added a crafting bench, which in theory is completely useless because there's already one inside the hub, but I think the view from here is going to look incredible. I can already picture it now of all of our factories being fully operational. I cannot wait. Something now that's a bit more useful is our equipment workshop, where we're most likely going to be using this quite a bit over the course of the next few hundred hours. And lastly, we have an awesome shop, which even though I haven't got an awesome sink yet and I have no coupons, I've still got a place to spend those coupons that I haven't got. But maybe we'll build that in today's episode. Which, speaking about today's episode, what are we going to try and do? Well, firstly, we haven't got any iron and no concrete facilities. So that's the very first thing I want to try and address. We've got one limestone node over there, we've got another just beyond yonder, we've got one more up there, and I believe there's another one somewhere in this direction. So I want to make a ton of concrete right here, right now. Not only have we got one node down there, but we've actually got another node over here as well, so that's fantastic. So I suppose we'll build them facing east this time, just so we haven't got absolutely everything facing north and everything looking a bit too symmetrical. So that's what we're going to start off by doing. Which is on a... is it a pure node or an impure? Oh, it's just a regular normal node. Okay, that's pretty cool. That means that we are getting 60 limestone per minute, so one constructor will be fine here. But because we're getting 120 limestone from you, it means that we are going to need pretty much 4 constructors overall. Very quickly, I actually want to try and place down the MAM here for a second, because there is actually something I do want to try and research, and I believe it's in the Power Slug tab. When I research this, it should hopefully unlock overclocking and underclocking. Let's get that research done. That is what I'm looking for right there. So we've actually got to try and craft our very first power shard. And there we go. We can now over and underclock some things. What exactly is over and underclocking? Well, let me very quickly demonstrate. Right now at 100% efficiency, we can convert 45 limestone to 15 concrete. But if I was to add one of these power shards, which you can get from blue, yellow, and purple slugs, just like that, we can now convert 67.5 limestone into 22.5 concrete, which means that we can convert more items into more items whilst consuming more power and more efficiency. Now, you can actually unlock like summer sloops, but I'll go into that another day, because that is not important as of right now. The very first thing I do want to try and do, though, is place down 4 of these constructors. I then want to try and get a line coming from there, a conveyor belt coming from there, and a conveyor belt coming from there, then ending somewhere in this direction. And that's line number 1 done, and that is our second line. So now it's time to start thinking about our next 2 nodes. This node right here gets zooped right across the pond, and luckily because it's a normal node, it only requires 1 constructor. But this final node is a little bit further away, and the journey to actually get to where I wanted to go is also a little bit complicated. Alas, we've managed to make it work. So let's place down 2 more constructors just like that. And because neither of these 2 are actually going to be connected, all I'm going to do is just grab our Mark 1 conveyor belt, drag you to there, grab another Mark 1 conveyor belt, then drag you to there as well. Now, all of our limestone should be fed into the respective constructors, although you guys are going to need power, so let's just very quickly hook you to, say, to there, connect you to you, and then you to you, and you should already be set to concrete. Yes, you are. Fantastic. Now, you might have noticed everything here copied and pasted automatically, which is great, but I don't actually want it to do that. And that's because in update 1.1 they've added a feature where as long as you press the middle mouse button or the scroll wheel, it copies whatever you've selected, which includes the color of the constructor, and whatever item that you are producing, and the clock speed of it as well, which is fantastic. I am thinking though, you're giving us 60 limestone, you're giving us 60 limestone, but we're only using 80, I believe? So we're actually wasting 40 limestone here. So is there a way that I could split you and split you, then merge together the splitted lines? Let's try that. And you know what? I honestly thought it'd be a lot easier just to combine them together. So the 120 limestone is now going into 3 constructors, which means that in total we now have 7 constructors making concrete. Just how much concrete? Well, it's 13.33 recurring, so we'd go 13.33 times by 6, which is roughly 80, plus the 15 from a bit earlier. So in total we're making just shy of 100 concrete per minute, which for this stage of the game is rather fantastic. So that's a great start to the video, but things are only going to get more intense with the introduction of iron. Oh, and there goes one of our power grids. Oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah, that's bone dry. Luckily, we've got some solid biofuel. And now, fingers crossed, this should be pretty good. This is burning in comparison to leaves. And here's an example of the leaves. So yeah, again, it is wild, the difference. Wow, and look at our production. What the heck? Holy moly. We've got so many resources, I don't even know what to do with any of this. Well, I do see a convenient plot of land right behind our storage bins. Some may say it's big enough for an awesome sink. And don't get me wrong, this thing is great, it's fantastic, it gives us coupons, we can buy stuff with coupons. The main problem early game though is that it consumes 30 megawatts worth of power. So I'm not going to go too overboard here, I'm only going to place down 21 of these, that's a joke. I'm only going to place down probably one of these somewhere here. Okay, I might have built 2, but only one of them's powered on. I will not power the second one on at all. And that's because I physically cannot. Our power grid is seriously starting to struggle now, and I haven't even built anything to do with iron yet, so I think it's about time that this place gets an upgrade. And again, I feel like this is a pretty good area to try and do it in. So our 2 conveyor belts of 120 items per minute are going to end somewhere here, and this is where I want to try and build my biofuel area. So let's see how that's going to go. This is going to take me like an hour and a half to do, isn't it? There we have it, 12 biomass burners, although I've only got 6 activated at this time, because I don't really want to use the rear 6 just yet, although if I need to use it, I now have the facilities for it, which now means I can completely get rid of everything here. But now it's time for the main part of today's video, the iron segment of the factory. The very first thing that I need to try and take note of is how much iron have I got near me, and how many resources can I make with that. So this is everything I want to get done on my starter factory. So far we've managed to make our 95 concrete, 120 wire and 60 cable, but now it's time to move on to all of our iron products. And the best thing about making all of this, so as you can see we are consuming pretty much 120 iron or less for every single one of these 5 recipes that I want to try and do. And that's important because we've got 5 iron nodes here, not including the one with the boulder, which produces 120 iron per minute. So 5 nodes going into 5 different recipes makes my life nice and simple. Firstly, let's start with our 30 iron rods and our 60 iron plates. This is just very basic stuff, and it's what I'll be making first. Moving on to our 10 rotors per minute, which is going to set us back roughly 112.5 iron ore. Here's the recipe for that, it is nice and simple. Moving on now, we've got our 10 reinforced iron plates, which is far more important for this stage of the game, because we need reinforced iron plates for our Mark II conveyor belts, so again that's rather important, and 120 iron ore being consumed there. Now moving on to our smart plating, which consumes rotors and reinforced iron plates. Now, what I could have done was used some of what I'm using here to then make my smart plates, but I thought, well, I'm going to need rotors and I'm going to need reinforced iron plates, so it's much better just to make this individually, and that is what we've done. And lastly, we have our modular frames, where I'm only making 5 per minute, but that's completely fine for what I need. Now, let's start off basic with those iron plates and iron rods, and then we'll try to unlock some more items in our hub, because I want to try and get everything from tier 2 done today. So we've managed to get a couple of nodes in. Now for you, I think what we're going to end up doing is going over to our production, getting our smelters. Then I think I want you to go here preferably. In fact, can you line up with that? You can. Brilliant. Okay, so we'll do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then get a couple of splitters, just like that. And now let's hook up our smelters to some power. And oh dear, our power grid's getting rather close to shutting down. So let's activate a couple more of our biomass burners. Now that I select all of you guys to start producing our iron ingots, you should now all be turned on. Yes, brilliant. Brilliant. Now what I'm going to try and do is place our merger right about there, directly in the middle of this foundation. We're then going to go ahead and place a splitter right here. You'll see why in just a second. Connect everything together, and now I need 3 constructors. 1, 2, 3. Yes, it fits beautifully. So this is what we're looking at so far. Our iron ore comes in, we create our iron ingots, and so far we're making our iron plates. Now let's talk about the iron rods. We then need to go ahead and select not just 1 but 2 constructors. Then also make sure that you guys are definitely producing our iron rods here, which luckily you are. So we then have to make sure that our settings are copied and pasted. Come over here to our splitter, and I think what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'll chuck you in here just like that. Make sure you're facing the correct direction, which you are. Bring you to here, which you should be able to do. There we go. Make sure that's nice and straight. Perfect. Now let's hook these guys up to some power. Now we have all of our iron plates and iron rods being produced. The next step is to make sure that I've connected all of you lot to the respective mergers, which again, I don't know why that's bugged out there. It's a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. And make sure you come down right to the very end. Whilst again, making sure you lot are all connected over here as well. Fantastic. So what I'm now going to try and do is build a couple of storage containers over here, so obviously we can try and store all of these items that we are producing. Wow, I'm very glad that we finally managed to get this built. I could not have waited any longer, since we're running extremely low on iron plates, extremely low on iron rods, and we've practically got 0 reinforced iron plates. So I think that's our next call of action now. Again, the reinforced iron plates. Just like what we were doing yesterday, but far neater and far more efficient. Normally I start off by making my iron products first, but this time I started off with copper and concrete, which was fine, but I think I do want to try and stick to iron first, because it's far more valuable. So now we're going to be moving on to our reinforced iron plates, which is this recipe right here. And it's pretty much the exact same setup as what we've just done. 60 iron plates, 30 iron rods. The difference is our rods are now going into screws, and our screws and plates then go into the reinforced iron plates. Rather than plopping down 2 constructors, I'm actually going to place down 3. And we're only going to be making 10 iron rods per constructor. The main reason as to why I'm doing this is that our 10 iron rods can simply just maneuver into our 40 screws, which makes this next part of the factory very simple to set up. So our iron plates are now being produced, and so are our iron rods to make our screws. However, there's a slight problem, and I cannot make my screws as of right now. And that's because when you look at our power grid, we are literally maxing everything out. So I think it's about time that we activate all of our biomass burners. So we've got 12 generators, and we are consuming 4 biomass per generator, which means that we are consuming 48 solid biomass per minute. And we still have 3,420 solid biofuel. So 3,400 divided by 48 means that we have roughly 70 minutes or 1 hour and 10 minutes worth of biofuel left until our factory completely powers off. That is not very good, but you know what? It is what it is. Let's just keep things going, and hopefully our factory doesn't power off. Although I should probably collect some more biomass in just a moment off camera. And as I was just recording that segment there, do you guys see that? There is a power slug up there. It looks like a purple slug, but wow, that is really high up. We are definitely going to have to collect those power slugs one day. But as of right now, let's solve one problem at a time. Okay, so we've got this space here, and I think it could be pretty decent for our assembler. Let's twirl that around just like that, and then try and put you into a position where you, yes, are lined up with that. Brilliant. And how much space we got behind here? We can probably go back by preferably that much so that we can still try and get a conveyor belt in there. That seems completely fine. And how much room are we left with here? Okay, not a huge amount of room, but what I do want to try and do is place you in that direction just like that, and try and merge all of you lot together. Then what I could try and do is potentially get this, then have you come across over there, which would then be bringing our screws from here to over here. This could be a pretty risky strat, but hopefully it could end up looking rather nice. So I've changed my mind yet again, but I promise this actually does work out rather well. So the bottom assembler out of the two is producing 3.333 recurring reinforced iron plates, and it's consuming 20 iron plates, which is exactly one constructor, and 40 screws, which is exactly one constructor. Then the one just north of that is then producing 6.667 reinforced iron plates, which is 2 constructors worth of screws and 2 constructors worth of iron plates. The reason why I've done this is because logistically this actually works out really well, so I'm going to keep it. So let's connect everything together, and now we should be able to be producing reinforced iron plates. Fantastic. And 10 of them per minute as well. I'm glad to see everything's fully functional. And I don't think I've actually shown this yet, but I've actually added a small storage room underneath our hub. Essentially, we had a bit of space, and I've got quite a lot of personal storage boxes, so I thought this would be a perfect place for it. And also, has anyone noticed this? Like, look how far you can jump now. If you press the control button and space at the same time, you can do these absolutely gigantic jumps. Holy moly! And essentially, everything in this square right here is what we've just been able to produce. So now let's move on to our rotors. Right, so we've got 2 nodes coming in from over there. We've got 1 more node over here as well. So our very first set of smelters is going to be going along this way, facing north. And then them 2 smelters, I don't yet know what I'm going to do with, because we're still going to build the rotors, the modular frames, and something else. Smart plating, that's the one, smart plating. So we've still got quite a lot to fit in here. And by the way, yes, I actually made a very small factory here that's converting our leaves and wood into biomass. The reason why I'm doing that is because handcrafting all of our biomass is taking forever. And I have been out exploring, I've gathered a few thousand more biofuel, so things are looking pretty good here. I've turned everything in our factory back on, including our second awesome sink, which is giving us tons of coupons that we'll check on towards the end of today's video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and build our very first 4 smelters. I haven't got the resources, I'm very good at this YouTube stuff. That's our first set of smelters done. Now we've got these 8 smelters, and now that's all fully operational. Suppose let's do our rotors. And if you make 15 iron rods per constructor, just like that, means that we're going to need 8 constructors just for this. I've got a feeling that we're going to run out of room here today. And this stuff might have to go here as well. Here goes nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's not too much room over here as well. Can I get you out of there? Well, yes, but you are going to collide with that. Something else that I could do, though, is potentially this. Yeah, that could work out rather well. Now what I've got to try and do is definitely get rid of that. Bring you preferably round to there. No. Add a splitter there, then all the way back. You know what? This could actually be a rather difficult challenge, and I do love a good challenge. So I'm sure no matter what we build, it's going to end up looking quite nice, neat, organized, and tidy, since those are the builds I like to try and prioritize. What on earth have I just made? And the bigger question here is how comes it all works absolutely perfectly? So our iron comes in from around there, and it goes into these 4 smelters. Our smelters then head over in this direction, where we then go straight into our constructors. The first few constructors, if I can get up there, are producing our iron rods. And our last few constructors over here, which again are producing iron rods, also make screws. Now each one of these constructors is set to a different amount of screws made per minute, and then each one of those then goes into one of these assemblers. So here, for example, we've got exactly 100 screws coming into there, and exactly 20 iron rods. Whereas these 2 are a bit more different. So for example, for this one we've got 110 screws going in, and over here it's 40 screws. And essentially we are still able to make our 10 rotors, which go all the way around there, up to here, then over to here, where we've now got 2 storage containers. But this time, rather than filling up from the bottom then going to the top, it goes through the top storage container, then down to the bottom one, just because that's what I was able to work with. And I've honestly been thinking as well, I might even get rid of this. Just put one of them there as well. And now I can put something in here that's quite nice, tidy, and preferably small. Just like that. Perfect. What about our iron ingots? Because we've got 120 iron ingots coming out of there, and 120 iron ingots coming out of here. And as you might have seen there from the cinematic shots, we are completely out of room. There's a few gaps here and there that I just don't know what to do with, but I can't fit an entire factory inside of there. We still got to make our smart plating and our modular frame. So I think it's time for an expansion. What I'm planning on doing is adding this floor up here, going as far back as we can in that direction, and sort of just cutting around our biofuel factory, which I might even have to expand anytime soon now because we are reaching capacity. So we can then build up here, which should give us plenty more room. So let me add in this extra floor and let's see what we're going to get. And this is what I have built for now. I've actually cut a small hole in the side here just for our solid biofuel, and I think honestly it looks quite nice. It breaks away a little bit that just plain wall that was in the background, so I think I'm going to keep it just like this. This side's probably going to end up changing quite a lot, but for now this is what I've done. So you can walk through here, there's a very small corridor down in this direction that leads to absolutely nowhere. I might break a wall through here, but as of right now that's completely fine. But if you were to come around this direction, again, there's lots of empty walls here. I do want to try and paint them, maybe even open up some of the gaps here. That could end up looking quite nice. When you come around here, there's a staircase. You go up there, then there you go. Simple access there to the second floor. And at least now, we end up using this space here a little bit, so it's not completely useless. But as I say, I'm most likely going to end up... In fact, you know what? Let me just try this now. If I was to get rid of this, let's say, and how high are you? I think you're about 3, aren't you? So if I was to do something like that, get rid of you, then probably end up getting rid of that. How is this going to end up looking? Okay, it ends up looking fine. I mean, it could be a bit better, but regardless, that's something I can work on off camera, and it's not really that big a deal. But now I've got to try and find a way to get our iron ingots from over there all the way up to over here. And I don't think it'll be that difficult to do. If I come back around this side here just for a moment, what I could try and do is have you lot come around this way across this path up here, then you'll come over here on top of the storage container that I can just throw up here, then do whatever it is that I need to do with those 2 nodes. Oh, this episode's surely a lot more intense than I thought it would be, but hopefully you guys are enjoying it so far. In fact, we are expanding so much that I've had to add even more biomass burners. Alas, now it's time to make these modular frames. There we have it. The reason why I didn't really show much of this actual factory building itself is because a lot of it's stuff we've already done. All we're doing is making iron rods, iron plates, screws, and turning that into modular frames. But I'll give you guys a very quick tour, and then we'll turn it all on. So we come up here where we're already making our 120 iron ingots. We then split this route over here, and this is where we are making all of our iron rods, which are then used to make our modular frames. The rest of the iron ingots come over there, again, over the pathway, and I love doing this, by the way, in case you haven't been able to tell. Also, I've definitely got to try and collect that power slug, but what I love to do is try and have these conveyor belts over the pathway, because I feel like it really adds a really cool atmosphere to the factory. But regardless, over here what we are now doing is we are making a few iron plates, which we need to make our reinforced iron plates. We are also making a bunch of screws, well, technically iron rods, then screws, and then we combine our screws with our iron plates to make our 7.5 reinforced iron plates. Our 7.5 reinforced iron plates then combine with our 30 iron rods, which is the thing that I showed you towards the very start of the factory over there. It combines with that, it goes all the way over there, round here, and then it creates our 5 modular frames. And we then store it over here in this direction. So you come up the stairs and instantly on your right, there's the storage containers, which makes that part of the factory really nice and simple. But you might have noticed we're actually missing something. I haven't added any smart plates, and instead what I'll most likely end up doing is just chucking down a random assembler, then a couple of storage containers that are filled with rotors and reinforced iron plates, and then just manually crafting our smart plates. And I did say that I wanted to complete tier 2 in the hub, so let's have a look at the very final milestone. And it's the jump pads, where luckily we can already afford everything, so let's just chuck it all in there. We'll then send the launch pod right back into space, and there we go. We have now finished thank you Ada. We have now finished everything in tier 1 and tier 2, meaning that phase 0 of the space elevator is now fully complete. And if you're new to the game and have no idea what a space elevator is, then the next episode might be a bit of a surprise for you. And for Satisfactory players, you guys know it's a huge part of the game. I think now it's about time to check up on our awesome sinks to see how many coupons we've actually managed to get so far. Because even though we're only in episode 3, if we go into save game here for a quick second, I've got almost 24 hours playtime. Now, some of this has been AFK, a lot of it's been collecting biomass and getting all of our logistics sorted, moving some items from up there down to there, and all sorts, but we've almost got an entire day in this game already. So let's just double check here. We've got 47 coupons. This is absolutely fantastic, but I don't want to print them out just yet. That's because I want to try and save them for tomorrow, or whenever the next episode's gonna be. Now, I want to try and craft 50 smart plates. Why 50? Well, I promise there is a method behind the madness. But to understand why we need 50 smart plates, you're gonna have to tune into the next episode, where we'll also be placing down one of the most iconic buildings in the entirety of Satisfactory. Without further ado, thank you very much for watching, liking and subscribing, and I hope to see you guys on the next episode. Goodbye.